Welcome to Fox Valley in Focus. I'm your host, Barb Nadeau. We have 4 great guests today. We will end our show with Jennifer Gilbert. She is the Executive Director of CASA Kendall County to talk about Child Abuse Prevention Month. We also have Tom Sakura, the Director of the Sandwich Emergency Management Agency, Jeremiah LaPlante, representing the American Red Cross, and our first guest today is Michael McCann. He's the new Director of the Sandwich Park District. We'll get started right after this.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Our first guest today is Michael McCann. He is the Executive Director of the Sandwich Park District. Michael, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you for having me.
You're now just into about a year or so on the job?
A little over a year, so I've lost that new car smell.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking you up and I was very interested in getting to know you because you come with a wide variety of service. You've done everything from youth to senior citizens
Sure.
in your working career. So I thought it would be great to have you on the air to talk about where you come from and what your goals are for the park district.
Sure. Well, just my career is I started with the YMCA's as an aquatic director and worked my way up through there and worked at a park district. And then I went into senior living for about 15 years and worked with older adults. Which at that point I innovated seniors playing with video games and all sorts of really out-of-the-box things. I took groups of seniors skydiving, which you would think is kind of like, wow, right? But I missed working with all sorts of different age demographics rather than just a singular age, and wanted to get back into Parks and Rec and saw the position at the Sandwich Park District. I like the idea of a smaller district, getting to know the community and the people rather than just being a corporate park guy is not my thing. I like being the park guy. And the Sandwich Park District offered an opportunity to do that, put my hat into the ring, and was blessed to have the opportunity to serve the community.
That's absolutely true that park districts range, like I think about Fox Valley Park District is one of the largest ones in the state of Illinois, and then you look at Sandwich, which is a really nice size. It gives you a chance to really get to know the people of Sandwich. You're not always behind a desk. You actually get to go and play
It does.
as
I know,
well.
Right. I know counterparts of mine that are in larger towns, friends of mine that are in Elgin, Elmhurst, and they're the executive directors there, and they're stuck behind their desk. They don't know any of the kids. And it just becomes a corporate job. I'm rarely at my desk. You can't find me there because I'm typically facilitating a program myself.
I've tried to find you there. That's true.
Well, I like to be out and about. I like to work with, if I see somebody out at the playground, I'll go talk to them. I like to know what they like, what they don't like, what can we do to serve them and promote the district. I run many of the teen programs at the Sandwich Park District, something new that we've innovated over the last year, and it's a lot of fun. It was a gap that I saw in the community. The Sandwich Park District is fantastic with our sports and athletic programs. They are top-notch. But unless you're an athlete, and there's a lot of kids that aren't,
So what do
kind
you
of programs do you
offer
do?
then?
Well, we've been successful. We've got a learn how to make your own comic book class, which is full, that I facilitate, so I pretend I get to be an artist and use my geek knowledge of superheroes and movies with the kids there. We run junior high nights now, which are basically partnering with the middle school, and once a month we turn that into a teen center. We have all sorts of different programs, skating programs, to magic programs. We've started a Dungeons and Dragons club. So there's things for kids that aren't in athletics that we're hitting, whether if it's fine arts, creativity, they're open to all. So we're able to offer a catalog of full opportunities of people with different interests.
Yeah, that's fantastic because, as you said, not everyone is the athlete, or not everyone is a member of the band. And you've got all these kids that really need an outlet, and they really need the connectivity to each other and, just recreation.
Well, it's more than just recreation. When I really look at it, what a park district does, it goes deep. That playground is not a playground. For a kid, that could be Hogwarts. It could be the Millennium Falcon. It could be a castle, because you're giving them an opportunity for their imagination to explode, right? So it's more than just a swing set. With the park district, people, unfortunately, they don't like their jobs, a lot of people. They're working to go and then do their interests or make money so they can engage in those interests. And those interests are their passions. And a lot of times those passions are the gateway that we're able to provide with a park district, whether if it's losing weight in fitness classes, to social programs, to family events, to athletics of all ages, and or learning art and new things, music, etc. And so we're only limited by the creativity of our staff and what we're able to provide the community. We like to listen to the community and what they want to do. Obviously, we're limited by the tax dollars that come in because we're small, but we're powerful. And,
But you have a lot of land space too. I mean, you have a lot of potential there. So I want to ask you a little bit more about that. What are your goals for the future?
Well, so right now we have reinvigorated our foundation. And so after this airs, we will have had our first gala, which is on the 31st of March, and it'll be at the Country Girl Restaurant at Edgebrook Golf Course, where we're kicking off a capital campaign to build a dog park at Milestone Park. About 3 years ago, we did a needs assessment, and dog park was one of the top things. So we're very excited. Right now, as of last night, we are full. So I did a Facebook Live about that, where we are reconfiguring the restaurant and adding more seats. Unfortunately, when we air this, it's going to be over.
Oh,
but
yeah.
we're very excited that it was full. We know it's going to be a success, and there'll be more opportunities as we raise dollars for this dog park. We worked with students at IVIC to design the dog park. So we're making it an intergenerational. It's not just us and the park planners. It's an intergenerational community aspect to bring this together. We're able to help kids educate and help them succeed. So that's a great mission moment. So it's great. So all of this is helping us. And what is our mission? It's more than just play. It's helping people be the strongest versions of themselves.
I want you to hold that, and
Sure.
I do want you to come back because I want to find out what happens with the dog park, and I want to find out more. Just a sneak peek of the Sandwich Park District. Michael, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being here on our show today. We'll be right back.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Jeremiah LaPlante joins us now. Jeremiah is a program lead for the American Red Cross. Thank you so much for coming today.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great. And who did you bring with you?
I brought Pedro, our preparedness penguin. He's our new preparedness mascot, and this is just a plushy form of him.
He's very, very cute.
He's very, very important to us. He helps us teach fire safety skills to kindergartners, first and second graders.
Fire safety skills with a penguin?
Yep, it's Prepare with Pedro. And so Pedro the preparedness penguin. And so not only is it fire safety skills, it's also all hazard safety skills. And so Pedro has a preparedness book for each one of them.
That's pretty cool. I saw that in the newspaper recently that you are collaborating with some of the schools in the area.
Yes, no, what we have found, we're in our third pilot year of this program, and we have found that it's best to work with schools with early childhood intervention programs, because the crux of the Prepare with Pedro program is it's literacy based. So children get a book, we get them reading, and they're learning life safety skills from our friendly little plush penguin.
What is the age that you're targeting then to teach these skills to?
It's kindergarten, first and second graders primarily, so that a 5 to 7 year old learning level.
Well, he's adorable and he's different.
He is very different. You know, we had Safety Sam back in the 1990s, and so Pedro was our new fresh face of Red Cross preparedness.
They like to have somebody they can cuddle, they want to have somebody they can interact with, so it's great to have a little plush toy like that. And like I said, he's different than anybody else that's out there.
We're very excited.
I did get a chance to see the book that you offer children. You and I met a few months ago, and I was really interested in the book. It's very well done. It's a really well done program.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it's all hazards. So we have a fire safety book in English and Spanish, and we have right now a hurricane safety book where Pedro learns to stay safe during a hurricane. We're looking to roll out in the fall a tornado safety book here in Illinois, and then within the next couple years we'll have volcano safety, tsunami safety, flood safety, and even winter storm safety.
My goodness, that's big.
Yes.
It's also interesting to me because I always think of the Red Cross as the people that come and they're the first ones on the scene after we have a tornado or something. So your job is kind of intriguing to me because it kind of reaches the entire gamut.
Yep, so American Red Cross, we're primarily, what I do is disaster services. So we respond, we prepare, we recover. And so when we're not responding, it's all about preventing. We want to prevent that tragedy from happening, that emergency from happening. And we do that by partnering with fire departments, with schools and community organizations to get the word out about preparedness so that hopefully, we don't actually have to respond. And so Pedro is just one of our many ways to really get into the community. The other one we have is our Pillowcase project, which teaches that 8 to 11 learning level about all hazards preparedness and how to really build their emergency kit. We've trained over 1 million children since that program launched in 2014. And then our other big program we have is our home fire campaign, where we install free smoke alarms in people's homes. And here in the Fox Valley, we actually work with a number of local partners to get the word out about those smoke alarms and get them installed.
Well, I've seen that you are out in the community. You're actually meeting with fire chiefs and all of the different nonprofit agencies and different social service agencies. You've been very active in our community. And it's funny because you had told me you didn't think you were going to be able to be here today. You were waiting to see if a disaster would happen.
Yeah, no, it's you go every day with a plan, and then that plan goes haywire because emergencies happen all the time. We respond to home fires every 8 minutes across the country. It's the most common disaster in the United States, and it's the deadliest, unfortunately. 7 people die every day as a result of home fires. So that's why our home fire campaign is really our big push. We really want to get the word out about smoke alarms, that it's the simplest way to save lives, and offer that free preparedness education in our communities. Right now, we have opened 40 shelters in the last week and a half in several different states in the Midwest for over 420 different people as a result of the historic flooding. Here in Illinois, we have 2 shelters open in Freeport and in Rockford. We're working with our municipal EMA partners to really ensure we have a safe and warm place for our community members to go to when they have nowhere else to turn.
And this spring, you are really looking at flooding as one of the major issues that you're going to be expecting. And I know in a few minutes we're going to be talking with Tom Sakura about emergency management and some of the severe weathers and tornadoes and things. But the American Red Cross is kind of a unique organization nationwide and also here. You were telling me a little bit about that before we went on the air today, the unique nature of the American Red Cross.
Well, first and foremost, we're almost 90% volunteer driven. So every project, every program we offer is primarily delivered by our volunteer team members. That's the core of what we do. And we're just like baseball. We've been around since the Civil War, and we're part of the fabric of this country. And as an organization, we're really born on the battlefield. We were founded by Claire Barton, Civil War here in the United States, and we have really 5 core services that we deliver. One of which is disaster response. We respond to 66,000 disasters every year. The other is our blood services division, where we provide 40% of the country's blood supply. We provide 330,000 individual services annually to our veterans and their family members and our armed forces, majority of which are the emergency communications from soldiers to their loved ones. We also train people every year in life-saving skills with our CPR first aid programs. And then lastly, we work to reconnect families torn by disaster and conflict around the world, and have actually been able to vaccinate over 1 billion children against measles and rubella.
Now, if you are a volunteer watching, or a potential volunteer, watching the show today, how do we get involved? And also, if you're a teacher or a school administrator, how do we get Pedro to show up in our?
It's a great question. Well, the best way to learn more about what we do is to just do that. Put on a vest and get on the front lines and serve the community. And you can go to redcross.org/volunteer to start your volunteer career today. Any questions, you can reach out to us at our Romeyville office at 630-378-0344. And any administrators who want a Pedro to come visit their classroom can also reach out to us there.
Okay, and one of the things I wanted to ask you about is you were talking about emergency preparedness. You were talking about how Pedro is engaging the youngest children, and a lot of times it's the children who are teaching the parents. That's the value of having somebody like Pedro come into a classroom, and some of these different workbooks that you're collecting and putting out, publishing for everyone. the children are bringing the message home. But on the other hand, what is your advice for parents?
You want to make sure you have a plan, number one. You want to make a kit, have a plan, and be informed. And when you make your plan, you want to make sure that it's tested, that you're working with your children and your families of what to do when that emergency happens, and that they know what to do and that you know what to do, and you're testing it regularly. You also want to assume, you don't want to assume that your children know what to do. We found that a lot of times children are confusing the different types of alarm sounds as we practice more in schools of different types of hazards. So making sure that when that smoke alarm goes off, that your child does know what to do and that you know what to do is really the first step. But you want to have a kit, you want to make a plan, you want to stay informed.
This is all great stuff. Jeremiah, thank you so much for coming to talk to us today.
Thanks for having me today.
Yes, and I'm going to keep track of where you are because you have so many important messages to share with all of us. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more right after this.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Tom Sakura joins us now. He is the Executive Director of the Sandwich Emergency Management Agency. Thank you so much. What a springboard, going from Jeremiah with American Red Cross to you talking about emergency preparedness. Tom, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We were just talking a second ago, we have emergency weather all through the year, but in the wintertime, we just had to hide out from those cold temperatures. Now is when we really see the active weather patterns.
That's correct. The biggest issue with that this year is that last year was a very, very quiet year nationwide. So people become complacent. It's not in the forefront.
So they think they're okay. The other thing that I think is interesting is everybody wants to put it on Facebook Live.
There are a lot of, for lack of a better term, charlatans out there making forecasts and putting bad information out there during events. I find myself spending a lot of time during storm events debunking this stuff.
I was intrigued just talking to you before we went on the air today. You were talking a little bit about how there is actually signals that our weather forecasters, our legitimate weather forecasters
Yes.
are getting, that they actually see these patterns happening, but people aren't listening, they're not watching, and...
Not to disparage the media, but if you're going to get a good forecast, you're going to need to know where to look. The Weather Service has various agencies that do that. Storm Prediction Center, which all they do is look for severe weather. They have outlooks as early as 5 days in advance. They can tell us that this stuff is going to happen. There should be no surprises.
Now, in your office, do you focus on weather issues, or do you also get involved with some of the other emergency situations that happen, such as a couple months ago in Aurora?
We are an all-hazards shop, just like any emergency management agency. The weather, of course, is the forefront, the most visible. Mm-hmm. However, in Sandwich, we have both Route 34 and rail, so transportation incidents are a big concern.
So you're looking at anything that's affecting the safety of the people of Sandwich?
That's correct.
And working with different law enforcement agencies and...
The police and the Fire Protection District. We have good relationships with both of them.
So what happens in your life when something does happen? What is the response? What is the process?
We have a playbook for that, an emergency operations plan, and we follow that as long as we can. Mm-hmm. And of course, plans go out the window. They never survive first contact, but you do need a starting point. So we just see what we have as far as an incident goes,
and then follow it where
bring
it goes.
the resources as we need them.
Okay. Now, when Jeremiah was on, he was talking about having a kit and making a plan, and I know you were saying that you thought that was really great. He didn't talk much about the pillowcase program, but you were commenting to us that you thought that was a really good
Oh
thing.
yeah, that's amazing. If you get the kids, you get them on board, because they go home like little wire recorders with this stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's outstanding, and it does have an effect on the parents. But as far as this time of year, you do need to dust off that emergency plan for in your home. You need to identify that shelter area, get the flashlight and the thick blankets, and now we suggest head protection, because a lot of the deaths in tornadoes and severe weather come from head injuries.
So you're actually learning from someone else's disaster on what needs to happen next.
Exactly. We study these things. They picked apart the Joplin, Missouri storm, and that's what they found, was head injuries. They also found that people didn't pay attention to warnings very well. There was half an hour lead time and people were outside looking at the storm or calling across town.
So last time you were on our show, you were talking about the new website that you were rolling out, and I wondered how people are using that website, and if you could give us a little bit more insight into how you communicate day to day with the people of your community.
Facebook is a big deal for our agency. That's really our touchstone because it's a lot easier to maintain than a fixed website, and it's agile. We can change things we can turn on a dime. Really.
So social media is really helping you connect immediately.
It's a two-edged sword. Like I said earlier, there's bad information out there too, so you spend time picking that apart, also trying to get the good information out there.
Okay, so yeah, that's true. I can see that everyone's got an opinion on what you have to
That's
say.
why we had to turn off comments on Facebook.
Okay, what kind of information do you offer then? When you said in your website, what do you have for assistance?
We have general preparedness information there, 25 words or less on why you should have a weather radio, which everyone should have. Again, the last gentleman spoke of smoke alarms. This is just as necessary.
You're right, we do get complacent. We don't even worry about whether or not the batteries are working. We need reminders like daylight savings time.
Right, you change the batteries in everything, smoke alarm, weather radio, all of it.
Well, I want to thank you for coming and talking about, the concerns we need to have, and who knows what we're going to see next. This is going to be our...
There is no crystal ball. There's one of the charlatans out there, once again, predicting 1,000 tornadoes, but I don't think we're there.
But it's good to have people like you that have been watching it for a long time and are here in our community.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. And we're going to be right back with one more guest. Don't go away.
Or that the projections would be flood next Thursday.
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency.
Jennifer Gilbert is the Executive Director of Casa Kendall County, and thank you for coming. This is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and it's so good to have you here to talk about your mission.
Yes, thanks for having me. Child Abuse Prevention Month will actually start April 1st. It runs all the way through April. So we're gearing up for a month of drawing attention to how important it is for people to get involved in anything that can help our children and stop the spread of child abuse. CASA actually works on the after end. Once an abuse or neglect incident has happened, the court assigns us, we get involved to try to make that child's life easier as they endure what's going to be probably, hopefully, the most traumatic situation and time in their lives. So CASA is going to get involved.
And you say that because you don't want anything worse happening in that child's life.
Yes, unfortunately we know that sometimes being in the system isn't the end of the trauma. So a CASA volunteer is there to be their watchdog, to check in on them, to get to know everything about that child and make sure that as they go through the system, they are always first and foremost.
As a CASA, that court-appointed special advocate, you are there for that child. You're that child's voice.
Yes, it's the CASA's main goal to speak up for the child, to make sure that their rather tiny voices don't get drowned out in a courtroom full of attorneys and caseworkers and the system, to make sure that their needs and the whole child is looked at, not just the legal aspect of the case. But we want to make sure that if we have a 12-year-old that played baseball for 5 years and they're taken into the system, that they don't lose that's their identity and who they are. And something like that, CASA will step up and make sure that we can find a way to get them involved with that, all the while making sure that they're getting the therapy they need, that the caseworkers are doing the visits they need to be doing, that the judge knows if they're safe and where their mindset is. Usually they trust their CASA, so they'll tell their CASA things that they won't necessarily tell their caseworker or anyone else sometimes, so we can bring that to the judge's attention so they really know truly what's going on in that child's head and their heart.
How many children in an average year come through your system?
Last year in 2018, we served 62 children. And this is just in Kendall County. We've been as high as 77 in a single year. It fluctuates with the number of children coming into the system each year, but we will normally see in the 50s up to the 70s.
That's an amazing burden, and I'm sure it's different in different counties, but still to have that many children in need in Kendall County, it's a startling figure, I think.
Yeah, I do think that this is a community where we often think it's somewhere else. It's not here, and it is here, and it's in I guarantee that it's in every neighborhood. It's in your child's school. It's not the households that you think, and we're really proud that we are able to serve through our program 100% of kids in care that need a CASA here in Kendall County. There's never been a wait list. They get someone right away. Within the first week, we make contact. We come out with a backpack. We call it our Bag of Hugs program, and the advocate shows up with a backpack packed with things specially to their needs and interests to bring them some comfort in that first week of being in the system, and especially if they're out of home, to sort of give them a little bit of something that's their own.
So those backpacks are packed like age and gender packed so that they're ready for a 3-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 12-year-old?
Actually, even more specific than that, we have basically a storeroom of needs and materials, resources ready to go, and we meet the child the first day at court, and then we pack it specific to that child. We'll always ask them maybe what their favorite character is, or something they had to leave at home that they didn't get to bring with them. So it's not even pre-packed. The advocate or myself or one of our staff members will pack it for that child with their very, very specific intent, desires and what they are into in that backpack.
It's a real labor of love.
It is. So.
Now you do training for CASAs like once a year?
We used to do them twice a year. We had a huge training class in the fall of last year, so we brought in 10 new advocates just in the late fall of last year. So this year we will only be doing one as the need stands now. This community is amazing. I call us often volunteer rich and funds poor. Because the volunteers in this community are easy to get. They love to come out. They want to be part of it. Except the men, we do need men. We only have one man out of the 35 advocates. So if men, we would really like to see get a little bit more involved. But we're really satisfied with the way the community rallies. We will be hosting that training starting in September. So over the summer, we will start interviews and do open houses to meet with potential volunteers. There's a fairly thorough screening process given what we do. So we'll start that in early summer, and then training will start in fall.
Fantastic. And you did say, you're volunteer rich and funds poor. I know that your murder mystery is already sold out, so that's fantastic. But tell us a little bit more about how we can help. What are the things that we can do to help you?
Yes, we have 3 major events. Since we are not funded by the state, we do have to fundraise. The county has been wonderful and gotten on board locally in the last few years and does show us quite a bit of support, which is greatly appreciated. But we have to fundraise over $100,000 between a staff of 3 people and 2 that are focused on those kinds of things. So we do 3 major events. We do the Murder Mystery Dinner, which is in April. It's April 27th. It is sold out with 375 seated guests. But we are still looking for sponsors and raffle donors. So if you have a business and you'd like to get involved, that's an option. We have our golf event. It's on the 9th annual golf event this year on July 18th. And then we have softball, which has grown to over 20-some teams. It's a whole day event that will be October 6th. We need a lot of business sponsors to get involved with those. It's huge exposure. Softball, there's 500 to 700 people at the park that day. This year we're offering for the first time a sponsorship where you can be involved with all 3 events. So you'll get your name out there at all 3 events. So there's some really exciting things.
Fantastic news. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. And I'll tell you what, a show like we've had today, this is one of the reasons I'm so happy to be part of Fox Valley Television. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being with us. I'm Barb Nadeau.